The crystalline halls of the Galactic Council chamber gleamed under artificial starlight as Ambassador Marcus Chen adjusted his simple black suit. Around him, beings from across the galaxy whispered in languages that ranged from melodic to mechanical. The Zephyrian delegates' tentacles writhed nervously, while the rock-like granite representatives' mineral formations shifted with agitation. Chen had come alone, as was human custom for diplomatic missions. No guards, no weapons, no intimidation tactics, just one man in a suit carrying humanity's application for council membership. The other species found this laughable. Humans, they'd heard, were soft, short-lived creatures from a backwater world who somehow managed to stumble into faster-than-light travel. The primitive mammals wish to join us, hissed Skarath, the Viperan council leader, his serpentine form coiling behind the central podium. His species had ruled for millennia, their venom capable of dropping creatures 10 times their size. Tell us, human, what could your fleeting race possibly offer beings who have mastered death itself? Chen smiled politely, setting his briefcase on the marble floor. We bring perspective, counselor. The wisdom that comes from knowing our time is limited. Laughter erupted throughout the chamber, if the various sounds could be called laughter. The Zephyrians' tentacles slapped the ground, the granites rumbled like avalanches, and the crystalline lumens chimed in harmonic mockery. Wisdom from mayflies, sneered Car 7, the cybernetic representative whose race had uploaded their consciousness eons ago. We have watched stars be born and die. What wisdom could creatures who barely live a century possess? The wisdom to make each moment count, Chen replied calmly. Iskarath's eyes narrowed to slits. You speak of time as if it matters. Watch. His massive tail swept down, striking like lightning toward the human diplomat. What happened next would be remembered throughout galactic history. Chen moved. Not quickly by superhuman standards, but with a precision and fluidity that seemed to bend reality itself. He stepped aside, and Skarath's strike, which should have shattered bone, passed through empty air. The Viperan leader's eyes widened as his tail embedded deep into the marble floor, where the human had stood a microsecond before. Impossible, Car 7 processed aloud. Our scans showed human reaction time at... Chen was behind him now, somehow having crossed 20 meters of chamber floor in what seemed like a single step. He placed a gentle hand on the cybernetic being's shoulder. Your scans measured our average, and he said softly. They didn't account for our potential. The chamber fell silent. You see, Chen continued, walking back to his briefcase as every eye tracked his movement. Immortal beings have the luxury of unlimited time. You can afford to be casual, to move slowly, to think for decades before acting. But humans? He opened his briefcase, revealing nothing more threatening than documents and a thermos of coffee. We've had to pack lifetimes into mere decades. 3 more council members attacked simultaneously, the granites launching boulder-sized fists, the lumens firing concentrated light beams, and a gaseous nebula being attempting to envelope the human in toxic clouds. Chen poured himself coffee. Somehow he was everywhere and nowhere at once. The granite fists crashed into each other as he flowed between them like water. The light beams refracted off his suit, not because it was special, but because he angled his body just so, turning the fabric into mirrors at precisely the right moments. The nebula being found itself condensed and harmless, its gases somehow redirected by air currents that followed the human's movements. The thing about mortality, Chen said, taking a sip from his cup, is that it teaches you efficiency. When you have forever, you can afford to waste energy, to be imprecise, to rely on brute force. He set the cup down and straightened his tie. When you might die tomorrow, you learn to make every heartbeat, every breath, every movement perfect. The chamber erupted into chaos as dozens of species attacked at once. Energy beams, physical strikes, psychic assaults, temporal distortions. Every weapon in the Council's vast arsenal was unleashed upon the single human. Chen danced. That was the only word for it. He moved like death itself, like inevitability given form. Every attack missed by fractions, redirected by the tiniest adjustments. He never struck back, never harmed a single being, but somehow their own attacks turned against them. Beams reflected into each other. Physical strikes were redirected into walls. Psychic attacks rebounded onto their creators. In 30 seconds, it was over. The most powerful beings in the galaxy lay scattered, defeated not by superior strength or technology, but by the simple, Terrible efficiency of a mortal who had spent his brief life learning to make every moment count. Chen straightened his suit and picked up his briefcase. Immortality makes you gods, he said to the stunned silence. But mortality makes us perfect. Every human carries the weight of limited time, and that weight forges us into something you've forgotten how to be. Precise. He walked toward the exit, pausing at the great doors. When you're ready to learn what a lifetime of practice in the face of death can teach, Earth will be waiting. But remember, we don't have forever to wait for your answer. The doors closed behind him with a soft click, leaving the Galactic Council to contemplate what they had just witnessed. Not a human diplomat, but mortality itself, walking among immortals in a simple black suit. They would approve humanity's application unanimously within the hour.